All right, welcome to
Sorry,
the
just
live.
dropping along to your intro music there, Neil.
Yeah, we got it. We got an updated intro there. We're gonna wait just like 30 seconds because the notifications are still going out. I just got one on my end, so those are still going out. But welcome to everybody that was in the lobby there. I am joined tonight by Mr. Mikel
Or this
Lindsaar.
morning.
Oh yeah, well, depending on what part of the world you're in, it's
That's
either
right.
tonight or this morning for Mikel in Australia. But this is Mikel Lindsaar. Welcome back to the channel. Mikel is the CEO and founder of Metapulse.
That's right.
Metapulse is our channel sponsor here on the Matterhorn Business Development YouTube channel, and we've known Mikel and his team for some time, and we've used Metapulse with our clients for several years now, as far as management and things like that go. And they teamed up with us to help spread the word of good employee management and systems. And that's why Mikel's company Metapulse is our sponsor, because we teamed up with them, and they've helped our clients tremendously. And we want to work together to help business owners with employee management, which nowadays is even a bigger topic than it was a couple of years ago. And so, as we're always out trying to help our clients do better, and we've been using Metapulse, we teamed up with them so that they could help spread their systems further and wider, and helps our clients a lot. So Mikel is in Australia. That's why he's having his espresso. He's not a madman drinking at 7 o'clock at night and he's going to be up all night.
That's right.
What time is it over there, Mikel?
It is. It's 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. And look, just for all of you Americans out there, I just got to let you know the future is awesome. You'll love it when you get here.
Yeah.
It's really tough being in Australia. Always being so ahead of the curve by whatever it is, 14 hours or something. But you'll catch up.
I wish you could share some like lottery winning numbers,
Yeah, right.
or something like that with
Lotto
us.
tickets are, yeah.
that would make life great. So it's 9 a.m. on Saturday. Mikel's
Saturday
joining
morning.
us.
That's right. And
Yeah.
it's blustery and windy and a perfect morning to be inside in front of blazing lights on a YouTube live stream.
Excellent. Well, right now it's raining here in Florida, as it usually
What?
does.
It
Yeah,
rains in
can you
Florida?
believe that? Rains down here quite
Jesus.
often, actually.
Is it hitting the ground and like boiling, steaming off, or what?
Almost. It's almost there. Yeah. So, you, Mikel, are an entrepreneur. You've got
Apparently so.
yeah. You've obviously got Metapulse. You've got other projects and companies that you also work with, and you've been working with employees in management for some time, which is how it led you to Metapulse. So why don't we go into, just from a employee management all around sort of aspect, some of the things that you've learned that kind of led you to create Metapulse. And we could talk more about Metapulse for people who don't know it, but
yeah, we'll get there.
kind of how did you end up, what made you want to create a company like Metapulse for employee management, I guess you could say?
Yeah, good question. And that wasn't even, normally when you say good question, it means that's the question that was on the run sheet that the person was going to ask.
Yeah.
Well,
this is my run sheet. It's
slightly. Oh, you've got a run sheet?
So,
and I've been told never to say so I'm going to have to really work on that. Look, I am an entrepreneur, definitely. I've started, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. Well, I've got 3 businesses running currently, and I've sold 4 software as a service startups within the last decade on top of that. So I'm always creating and building companies and growing them. And the 3 that I've got left are definitely expanding quite rapidly. And back in about a decade ago when I just started all this, because prior to that I was a volunteer and all sorts of stuff, but about a decade ago when I started it, I realized there was nothing out there that was really available to track, monitor, and understand what the staff and the team are doing, but also to coordinate that team, right? If you're a manager and you're trying to run a company, you really want to know a few things. You want to know who the staff are. I mean, that's easy when it's you, but once you get up to like 30 or 40 staff, and every small business will get there as it expands, it's natural. As you get more work, you just keep expanding. that's sort of the range where you lose track of who your staff are. Like, unless you've got flashcards with their face on it, you're not going to. Actually, it's a really funny story about that. I run a remote work company. All my businesses are remote work. And I was back before COVID, we would fly everyone into Sydney from around the world once every 3 to 6 months to have a team meeting. And I probably need to start doing that again. Hello, Kat.
Yes.
And we're at this team meeting, and one of my staff came up to me and said, "Hi, my name's redacted. Hi, my name's Redacted. What's your name?" And I went, "Oh, I'm Michael." And I went, "Oh, wow. Good to meet you, Michael. What do you do here?" Like this, right? And I'm like, "Well, I own the business." And he's like, "Oh my God," right? He had no idea.
Yeah.
And that's just the way that modern business is going. You don't, with all this remote work stuff, you don't necessarily know who's in charge of reception, or who's the person you go to if you have a legal problem, or who do you go to get a new computer, or who do you go to send a lead for that. A friend of yours just called you and said, "Hey, you work in this industry. I've got this problem. Do you know anyone that could help me fix it?" And you're the actual plumber, and they're asking about a plumbing lead, and you need to sell them to the sales guy, but you don't know who the sales guy is, or you need to send them to the business development manager and you don't know who she is. And so this sort of knowledge about the business is critical. And that's why I started building what is now Metapulse. It's taken 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and pouring knowledge into it. But that's why I built it.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you're a business owner, you want to know who your staff are. If you don't, you want to know, do they know what they need to do? Like, do they know what their targets are? You need to know if they're knowledgeable enough to do that. Like, do they have the policy and the understanding of how your business runs? And then you need to know, are they actually doing it? Right? They're really 3 or 4 key fundamental aspects of what you have to do as a manager. And if you don't know those 4 things, well, are you really running a business, or is the business running itself and you're sort of along for the joyride and you're just flipping coins to see if you're going to succeed or not?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we have somebody in the chat says, "Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us, Michael." So
thanks.
You're loved. You're appreciated for taking time out on Saturday morning to meet with us.
Well, my dad always said that when you run your own business, you have total freedom to choose exactly which 80 hours a week you work. Isn't that awesome?
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly how it works. You can do whatever weekday of schedule you want. If you're on the beach on Tuesday, you're working Saturday and Sunday. But you went to the beach and nobody else was there, so you got to take advantage of it. That's kind of how it goes. Funny, just to comment on like what you said, where somebody came up to you and was like, "Oh, Michael, what do you do here?" And you're like, "Well, this is my company." I ran into something. I've seen that happen in even one of my other businesses. With one of my other businesses, with my partner Pat, and Pat. It's like I was out for a little bit, or I would come and go, and I wasn't there every day, and I was there on certain times. And it's kind of like, "Oh yeah, we hired this new person, and they're going to be over there." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool," and I'm doing my thing, signing up new clients. And I'm coming and going, and one day I get in the elevator, and this kind of newish employee was like, "So you're in charge of like signing up the new clients and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm one of the owners." "Oh, you are?" I said, "Yeah. I was like, "Me and Pat own the business." And they're like, "Who's Pat?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Because we've got like a couple of businesses on the same building and different stuff, So yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes, if it's you and you have a bricklaying company and you hire a receptionist, the receptionist kind of knows like, okay, this is Joe's bricklaying company and this is Joe. Yeah. But once you get even 5-6 employees and you have an HR person who's in charge of hiring, and they do what they do, and they go, "Hey, I hired this new person." That new person has no idea that, you're the owner of that company. It's kind of funny how that happens.
Yeah, or they might think that you're just the CEO, or they might have some other thought process about how the company hangs together, or maybe Neil's the boss, but Pat's really the one that runs the show because Neil's never there. Why? Well, Neil's out signing up clients. But Pat's the one who's always there saying, "Where's your production at?" So maybe Pat's the real boss, and Neil's nothing to do with it. Like, there's all of these sorts of things.
They just think I'm another dude sometimes. So
Yeah,
now everybody knows who I am. I took care of that after that conversation. I was like, I should probably let these other people know too. But and not because I'm like, oh, I'm the CEO or I'm a partner or whatever. Like, I don't look at it.
It's an interesting thing because management. There are three zones of any business or any organization. You've got the founder / goal maker. You've got the management team who implements the founder's goals, and then you've got the team that's actually building it, right?
Yeah.
And any company has these three pillars. And if you don't actually have those three pillars clearly defined, the company won't succeed to the potential that it could. And you look at every great organization in history, there will be a goal maker. Like, there will be someone who's going, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, this is how we're going to achieve it, right?
Yeah.
Then there'll be a management team that backs up that goal maker, but the management team uses the power of that goal maker's vision in order to implement the coordination needed to make it happen. Okay, goal maker said we're going to build all-in-one Apple computers, that are for the every person and have this aesthetic around it. Okay, well, let's build it, and this is how we're going to build it. And then you have the team, which are going about building it. Now, the management and the team can be the same person. The goal maker and the management can be the same person. But to the degree that the goal maker and the management are the same person, or the management and the team are the same person, the organization loses their goal maker, right?
Yeah.
And it's irrelevant if you are a brilliant manager or a not brilliant manager as a goal maker. You might be the best manager in the whole company, but if you don't have that goal maker position in your organization, it will flounder, right? And when I started building Metapulse, I really wanted to build a system for the goal maker and the management and the team so that they could coordinate their activities. Because if you have that whole team coordinated and they're doing the same thing and know what each other are doing and understand that how Joe's job relates to my job, how it relates to the company's goals, your team just explodes. Like, it'll take off like you would not believe.
Yeah, I typically find like most business owners keep the goals to themselves because they're afraid to talk about, oh, we need to make $5 million this year. They're afraid of saying words like that to employees. And so then, you go and you talk to Joe and you go, hey, how does your job help get the company to $5 million in revenue? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where's this 5 million number even come from? Right. So there has to be a goal. And if it's not, hey, team, we're going to do $5 million this year, then it has to be, we're going to make 10,000 RVs. We're an RV manufacturing company. Our goal is to produce 10,000 RVs. And then the worker goes, oh, we need to make 10,000 of these things, rather than, hey, we need $5 million in sales or whatever it is. There has to be something that translates down to the staff. And to kind of go back to what you were saying about the goal maker and all that, I did that video recently on the channel about the vision of the CEO. And it was funny. Me and Abby started filming the video, the vision of a CEO. We just did it 2 weeks ago, if you go back through the channels. And I was looking for an analogy as I was filming it. And so I came up with the analogy of a navigator on a ship. So you've got the captain, and people think, oh, the captain of the ship is the top dog of the ship because he's the captain. But in reality, the captain can't do anything if the navigator doesn't plot the course of where they're going. And so it's kind of like the navigator is really the goal setter and the vision of where we're going. The captain sets the course and then gets everybody else on the ship to get there. And it's kind of like the team has to know where that ship is going so that they can all work together to get there. And that's part of morale of a company, or the morale of a business, is everybody working towards the same goal. And if only one or two people know what the real goal is, the other people just come in and they clock in and they clock out, and that's all they do.
That's right.
And people go, well, why can't I find good employees? I say, well, why can't we find good managers? I've had a number of people come to me and say, oh, bad employees and people are terrible and all this. And I go, I wouldn't work for you either. And
And
they
that's how it
kind of
works.
sit there and they go, what do you mean? I'm like, well, just to hear you complain about everybody on your team tells me that they're not the problem, you're the problem, because I could do those jobs, but I would refuse to work with you. And a couple of people have gotten offended because they couldn't take it. But a few people
But it's
go,
true, you know.
yeah, a few people go, wow, I never thought of it that way. Right.
There's another problem with the small business that's trying to grow. And you mentioned that some CEOs or founders or owners are afraid to communicate the goals of their business. That can also come from them confusing the goals of their business with their goals.
Mm-hmm.
And the business goals are they're very different. They've got a very different purpose to the owner's goals. You know, like as an owner, one of my goals, my goals could be all sorts of things. You know, I want to earn enough money so I can donate to my favorite charities, or I want to be able to have my own beautiful house, or I want to be able to send my kids to the right schools, or whatever your goals are can be your goals. I want to buy the latest car. You know, they're your goals. They've got nothing to do with the company. The company's goals, you have to think of a company. When you're the founder and the CEO and the goal setter of the company, you have to think of the company as an entity. And if you don't believe that a company is an entity, try killing a company. It's really hard. You know, there are legal processes. Like there are so many things you have to do to actually shut down a business. It can take months, years to fully end an organization. And even after it's ended, people will still talk about it and like the time when and how that company was doing blah. So you've got to find what the company's goals are. And, you know, in my company, I have our objectives. I go over them with all of our staff. I say, these are the targets for this quarter. This is what we did last quarter. This is where we're going to achieve this quarter over the next 3 months. And that's broken down by this much per month. You know, we want to grow sales by this many million, or we want to sign up this many new customers. And the whole team is coordinated around that. And when I mean the whole team, we have a weekly all hands meeting where the entire team is on a single Zoom call. And for those who are in the wrong time zone, they then watch the recording afterwards. And we go over these objectives and we show all the graphs in the company and the statistics of where everything's up to, and it's all visible and it's all available. And I tell you, when I talk to my team members about this, the most common response I get is, I've never been in a business that is so transparent about where it is and where it's going.
I was just going to ask you, what do the new people say? What do those new employees say when they come and work for a business like that?
Yeah, they're very surprised.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say blown away or anything, because, you know, they've all got their own reactions. But quite often what will happen is they'll join the company. So they've gone through an interview process. They've already met me during the interview process, because that's one of the other key jobs of the business owner, is making sure hiring is correct. But they'll go through that process, and then they'll do a meet the CEO call where they just do a one-on-one with me and my establishment manager, where they get to just talk to me, ask any questions. You know, by the time they do the meet the CEO, they've usually gone through one team meeting, they've done their employee onboarding heading, and they've already started producing, right? So they've got their foundation in the company, and they've got things they can ask about, which is important. You don't want to do the meet the CEO on the first day, because nothing to ask. And I usually ask, you know, what did you think of the team meeting? And they sit there going, I've never experienced something like that. That was bizarre. And I went, you know, what do you mean? I said, well, every part of this organization talked about what their targets were, and you laid out exactly what the goals were. And I can really see how my job can affect that. You know, I also get a lot of comments about how my employees and team feel like their job matters, because they can see how it relates, right? And back to your point, you know, laying bricks. Well, how does that actually relate? You know, because we're building houses. It's like, well, okay, if you lay 20% more bricks this week, we're going to build 20% more houses. Oh yeah, you know. And actually, I mean, that sounds really stupid, and I don't want to denigrate the big brick builder, but the truth of the matter is
true.
That's what happens. It's not that they're stupid and they can't figure out that laying 20% more bricks builds 20% more houses. But unless you have that transparency, they might have the thought process of, it doesn't really matter if I lay 20% more bricks, because Joe over there is always late in putting the roofs on anyway, and it's going to slow down my production, and I have no way to communicate that. And the CEO doesn't know that Joe's really slow at putting the roofs on, because we don't measure his production, and the CEO doesn't know that Joe's always late. So why should I bother, right?
Yeah.
So by having this transparency across the whole company, all of our staff can see what all the other staff are doing, and it puts this group agreement in place that we're all going to work effectively and expand and grow together. And it's a very powerful, very, very, very powerful, just that transparency factor, where the developer can see what my statistics are as the CEO, and is the CEO doing his job? Is the sales manager doing his job? It's a bit terrifying when you first do it. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
But the rewards are they're amazing. It's like jumping in a pool. It's a bit dodgy as you get in there, but then it's great when you're in.
So how many employees do you have, for instance, that you manage spread out?
Across all of my companies and across the world, we have about 60, I think, 55, somewhere around there. I mean, there you go, Ryan. I don't actually know.
Yeah. You're supposed to give me a firm answer.
I mean, and I don't know, because in the last couple of weeks, we've hired several staff, and it's somewhere. I mean, I could pull up a statistic and get the exact number right now, right? But even that would be a little bit misleading, because I have 3 companies. I actually have sort of like a central management unit, which does my financial establishment and accounting. And that central unit does all the accounting for all 3 companies. So there's sort of some double ups there in terms of number of staff.
Yeah.
But yeah, somewhere around 55. And I think it's in 9, those 55 staff are in 9 countries.
Right. So we've got multiple countries, multiple staff. And as long as things are managed properly and done properly, a business can be
expanding.
Extremely successful and rolling if it's managed properly and done properly.
Yeah. And, you were asking me one of the things around why did I build this? And just recently, we did a whole branding exercise for Metapulse, where we changed the logo, and we positioned ourselves as the world's first growth management system and all of this sort of stuff. And part of that is we did a survey, and we went in the US and we surveyed 50 CEOs with 50 or more employees. And if you want a hard target market to survey, pick that. It's like they're busy people. They are completely run off their feet. They have no time to talk. And we got the survey responses in, and we had a 94% of the CEOs had this one problem, right? No way to track the individual production of each staff member, their units, departments, or organization. Now, to get a 94% response rate on any survey is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But to have it that targeted, and 94% of these CEOs, they don't know how to track their individual production of their staff, the departments, the organization, etc. And that includes knowing where they are, what they're doing, are they doing it? It includes all of that. So that's where and why we built Metapulse out. And when you have that management capability on the platform and you use it, the platform doesn't solve all your management problems. Let's just be clear, right? You still have to be a manager. There's no way around that. But what it does is it enables you and gives you the tools so that you're more effective as a manager. Like, if you can't manage and you're useless at managing staff and you're bitching at everyone for not doing their job, Metapulse will just make it easier for you to bitch. It's like it's a tool. You have to, if you don't know how to drive and you get in a car, you're still going to crash. Doesn't matter how expensive the car is or how beautiful it is. I mean, unless it's one of those self-driving cars, but in that case, you're not driving anyway. So there you go.
Yeah, you're asleep at the wheel. I mean, that's
right.
Like most CEOs or most business owners, it's like not paying attention, right? Oh, somebody else or some other thing is going to do it for me, and it doesn't really work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, one of the things about managing and knowing what people are doing, we're not talking about micromanaging and saying to George, hey, it's 10 a.m., you've only done one blah, blah, where's your next blah, blah. That style of management produces robots.
Yeah.
And people that can't take initiative or be responsible for their job, right?
Yeah.
What we're more talking about here is, knowing in real time what the hell's happening in your organization. Being able to spot where things are going off the rails a little bit, being able to manage your organization by actually getting the data and pulling it in. So I've got 55 staff. Every one of them every week updates their production statistics every week. And sometimes they do more than one graph. They might do 2 or 3. So my sales guy will report number of contacts, or number of communications sent out, number of contacts received back, number of proposals sent, and number of sales, dollar value of sales closed, right? So every week they get reported, and the statistics that are on the communication line are reported daily. And that's how they manage their production. They can see, did I do better or worse yesterday? You know, am I on track better or worse last week? And of course, there's going to be a ceiling on something like that. Like, it's not just going to be up all the time, but it'll get to a point where it's in such a high range that no one would dream of getting rid of the guy, because, like, every day he's just like a machine. He's just boom, 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 and out comes the production.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up the idea of the statistics and people actually caring about what it is that they're doing in a business. One of the videos that we've done on the channel that has gotten, I think, more views than any other channel we did was one that my dad had done about staff meetings and team meetings and stuff, and how the idea of a staff meeting and a team meeting is for people to be able to talk about what they did that week and what the goals and targets are for the next week and things like that. And it's funny because that video has, tons of likes and positive comments on it. But then we also get all the people that come in that think, oh, statistics are a waste of time and they're useless and there's no reason to have this. And if my boss gave me a statistic to track, I'd leave, to which point I usually say in the comments, good, save your boss the trouble. But it's so funny how some people have this idea that statistics take all this time and effort and, energy.
If my team is spending more than 5 minutes a week updating this,
that's all I do. I run, my business. We're on Metapulse. My manager every Monday morning gives me 2 printouts. I put the information from those 2 printouts into 10 statistics that we manage everything by, and me and my partner look at those and go over them. But it literally takes less than 5 minutes for me to know where we're at, what's going on, what's happening. And I don't know where this idea comes from that it's impossible or it's too much work or anything like that. Do you have something that you can show us in Metapulse of how easy that is, just so that people understand, whether they're using Metapulse or Microsoft Excel, or I don't care. It's so easy to keep track of these things if you just put your attention on wanting to do it,
Yeah, totally. I mean, just give me a second while I
do your thing.
And it's an interesting thing around that, because all of my staff, for example, they all enter their own statistics
into the Metapulse platform
directly,
update and track everything that they need to do.
And what that means,
and the other good thing, just for people watching, the other good thing about having statistics is that this is part of the goal setting and keeping the team on track with where we're at and where we're going. So where are we on our path to these goals, to the end target that we have? You can only do that if you're using good communication with your employees to say, hey, this is where we're at. This is where we're at for this month or last week. This is where we need to be to hit the goals, and it's more than just monetary goals. It's, production, it's hiring, it's promotion, it's sales, it's all those different types of things. But using a statistic or using something to track where you're at, if we go back to my example of the navigator, that is telling you if you're on course to hit your target. And the navigator doesn't just say, okay, Captain, here's your coordinates. We'll be there in 2 weeks. I'll be up in my bunk, sleeping for the next 2 weeks. He's there monitoring it and seeing what's going on and saying, hey guys, we've gone off course. We have to go back this way, or whatever it might be. And for some reason, people they tell their employees, hey, Your job's to answer the phone, and then they walk away. And then they get mad when the person doesn't know how to take a message and upsets a customer that calls in because they don't know how to take that call or what to do with it, or like they're not on track and on top of what's actually going on.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'll show you some little things around Metapulse. So if you want to click that screen up, there we go. So this is Metapulse for anyone that hasn't seen it before, and it is.
Which, by the way, if you go to metapulse.com, you can get a 2-week free trial. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
feel free to go and check it out for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about Metapulse is that it is a powerful system and it can take some setup. So we partner with people like Matterhorn Business Development that can set it up for you and help you coordinate that and get it up and running. And we also have an onboarding service where we can just do all the back entry of all of your previous data and all that sort of stuff, which if Matterhorn don't want to do it, you can work with us and get that done, and then they can help you actually get it up and running. So Metapulse is all about knowing how to grow. And this is the common problem of companies. It's like you're at a state that you're at and you want to get a bit bigger. How do you do that? Where do you invest your beans and what do you do that with? And we do that through graphs, objectives, the org chart, knowledge, reports, events, and trends. And I can show you a little bit about how all this hangs together. So if I log into our staging environment here, I'm logged in as Bob, and I can see I've got some graphs here. They're a little out of date because I haven't updated my staging environment. But you can see that some of these are going up and some of these are going down, right? So as a manager, when you first log in and you're looking at this, you might be able to instantly see that, design promotional materials is going up, but the amount of promotion you're doing is going down. So what's going on here? So you can go and talk to your promotion manager and he goes, oh yeah, I've just been hammering out and building this fantastic thing, and look at this new thing, and look at this new thing. And you're like, yeah, but did you send anything out last week? Oh no, I forgot. It's like, dude, come on. Like, how are we going to make money if you're producing everything, but you're not sending anything, right? So this is where I had this exact problem 5-6 weeks ago in my own company. So the time it was taking to respond to support requests was crashing. So it was an upside down graph. So that means the worse it gets, the longer it takes to respond, the slope goes down, right? Because that's a worse experience for the customer. When you're doing statistics, it's easy just to have in your head, up is good, down is bad, right? Because then when you look at a whole set of graphs, you're not having to do mental gymnastics about, oh, that one is upside down or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So down is bad, up is good. Really simple. So the time it was taking for us to respond to support tickets was crashing, like just crashing. And my first response as a business owner was, what the hell is the support team doing? Like, are they on holiday? First response, right?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. It's like, well, guys, what's going on? And that response lasted about, I don't know, 1/10 of a second, because the graph right next to it was number of support tickets logged, and the graph next to that was number of new users joining the platform. And both of those graphs were going straight up, right? So the reason the support tickets was crashing was more people were joining and more people were lodging tickets as a result. So the reason the support graph was crashing was we were getting really successful. And they were just literally being overwhelmed, right? They just couldn't get to the tickets.
They're putting all the new customers in, they're putting all the new clients in, helping them get everything set
up.
Well,
they're responding. And you actually look at the number of support requests handled was actually going up, right? So they were doing more work, but there was so much overwhelm coming in that the time taken on average was falling, right? Or was getting worse. So that was like an instant management aha moment of, that's why I built Metapulse, right? Like, if I didn't have those 4 statistics getting managed, it would have taken me an hour to actually investigate that and find all the data and look around and get it all done. But that was just right there.
Plus, you probably have support team in other time zones and in other countries or other places. So you go, hey guys, why is this going on? And then you send out an email, and then you got to get a response. It take you a day or two to find out that the reason that the responses were so low was because they were just too busy because of all the growth of the platform.
That's right. And then
I guess that the solution would have been to put more people or hire new people into the support area.
I instantly went to my manager at the support area and said, hey, we're going to I've noticed how much the support team is being worked and overworked, and we're going to hire a new person. He was like, oh, thank God. And think of it the other way, right? If I didn't have those statistics there, I would have sent out an email. Why is the average response time falling?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it getting worse? And that would instantly put everyone in the support team on the defense. They're like, oh, the boss doesn't think I'm working, right?
Yeah.
Which creates a, what's the word? Like an intubulation within the organization of this, like, nah, I'm doing all this work and all the boss cares about is I'm slow. Doesn't he know that blah, 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 right? So it creates all this upset. But instead, the email that came out from me was, you guys are working your butts off. We're going to add some more staff, right? And instantly it's agreement. Instantly it's, hey, I like my CEO. He actually cares. How does he know? So that's what a statistic is. And look, entering a statistic is easy as this. So we can see there's some values needed on these graphs. We've got the sales here that was going up. So this is one of my statistics. So I'll just set the sales. That would be what the sale was this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and create data like that. Or if on a specific graph, say this is one of your staff's graph and we need to enter the value for the 25th of May, 25th of March, we can just pop back to March and enter that value here and put that at 9 and hit save, and that'll update, right? So that's how quick and easy it is to update statistics. If you've got a whole bunch of graphs, you can enter them via the data entry page, which could have every graph in your company, and you can quickly go through it. But one of the things we really encourage with Metapulse is that every individual team member logs in and updates their own statistics. And the reason for this is there's many. The first and most important one is that it puts that team member in a causative position over their production, because they're logging in every week and they're putting in how many of the things that they did this week.
This is what I did this week.
That's right. And they're able to report it. And when it's up, they can be proud. And when it's down, they can be, okay, yeah, I better work a bit harder next week, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's not that they're slacking off. Maybe it's something else. That's actually another really interesting thing. Like say this here, say we're looking at this graph of promotion out. I mean, that any business owner would look at that in a terrified state, right? I mean, that's doom for the company. You're not promoting anything. Well, why are we not promoting anything? So you've got the graph. You don't manage by the graph. All the graph is an indicator. And talking back to your previous point where, some employees are afraid of statistics or something, right? They're just going to be micromanaged or something.
Yeah, micromanaged.
That's where the fundamental misunderstanding comes in, because you don't use the graph to manage the employee or the team member. You use the graph to manage the production. And it's a very different thing. So this graph is crashing. As a business owner, you then want to go find out why. So you go to your marketing manager and say, hey, like these two things are contrary graphs, right? This is going up and this is going down. So we're producing all these new promo items, but we're not getting anything out. Contrary data. What? Why? What's going on? So instead of going to the production manager and screaming at them because the promotion's down, right? Which is what you would do if you were reactive and you didn't have all this data. Obviously, she's doing something, right? Because there's work happening, but there's no product, right? So you debug the product. So you'd go to the promotion manager and you get them on the phone and say, hey, how's everything going? Like that's how you'd start. Because obviously they're producing. So you say, how's everything going? And they go, oh yeah, I'm creating all these promo pieces. And, yeah, I was actually looking at the stats and I noticed that promotion out is, almost zero. Like, is there anything I can help you with to fix that? Is there anything happening that I don't know about that we need to resolve? And she goes, oh, I'm so glad you asked, because, I've been trying to get the accounts team to pay for the Facebook bill for the last 2 weeks, and they just can't log in. Like they don't have the password, and they're afraid of asking you because, they don't want to bother you because you're the CEO and you're really busy. And we haven't been able to pay the Facebook bill because, somehow the accounts got locked and we don't know how to get in there, and I can't do any new promotion. But I didn't want to upset you, so I didn't call you.
Yeah.
We're trying to solve it ourselves. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, write up a policy. This is how you reset the Facebook password if it ever blah, 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 right? And you put that in knowledge, you assign it to the accounts team, and the next week the promotion goes through the roof. This is what statistics is all about. It gives you that ability
It gives you a
find
picture of what it is that's happening before, kind of like you said, like instead of just yelling at the person like, hey, this number's down, you can go, oh, look, this is happening and this is happening, which means this is happening.
Yeah.
But why is
I
that
mean, to give you-
happening? Exactly. If we go back to your ticket solved problem, you had a solution to the problem already worked out in less time than trying to figure out what the problem would have been
That's right.
if you didn't have those
That's right.
statistics.
And then on top of that, we also track profit. We also track how much we're spending in the company, how much we're earning in the company. So I could look across all 5 of those statistics or 7 of those statistics and go, we're expanding, the support team are overworked, we have enough money each month to be able to hire a new support person, let's hire a support person. Boom.
And this is how you can run multiple businesses at the same time. Because if one is organized,
how the hell do you run 3 companies with 50 staff? Like,
if one is organized,
I just wake up in the morning and do the next thing. No.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you organize it. And, like in Reinteractive, one of my consulting companies, or my main consulting company now, it has about 30-something, 40 staff, I guess. Yeah, 30-something. We track 112 statistics on a weekly basis in that company. Right. And that some of those are automatically updated by, API calls, but most of them, just the employees, all of our production employees have one graph each, and they log in and they update that graph on a weekly basis. Some of those statistics are aggregate statistics. We call them calculator graphs, where say we've got X number of developers, software developers, and each of those produces a statistic each week, which is the number of features delivered to clients. And then those statistics get added up by the group up to the top. This is the total number for the company. And then we have other statistics like the value of all the service delivered in the organization for that week. So you work out every project that got completed that week, and you take how much was that worth when you sold it, and that becomes how much value you delivered to your customer that week, right? But then you can take that graph and you can take another graph such as how many employees do I have in the company, and you can divide that value of service delivered by the number of employees, and you can get an instant quality metric of how efficient is our organization. So, if you're adding new team to your company and the value of delivery is not going up, why are you adding more team to the company?
Right. You're not organized, and it's not actually bringing value to the business.
Right. Exactly. So it's really important that every team member has their own statistic and they update their own statistic on a weekly basis, at least. And part of that journey is figuring out what is the statistic that they should be updating, right? And this is, I guess, another really important thing. This is where companies like Matterhorn can help you in working this out, because say you've got a receptionist, right? I mean, let's use the software developers that we've got. So we've got software developers in our company. And, what's the statistic of a software developer? Like, what's their production? So when you're trying to work out a statistic of a team member, what you're trying to do is you're trying to work out how can I measure their actual contribution to the company on a periodic basis, right? Yeah. And a naive way of thinking about that for a software developer might be, okay, well, what does a software developer do? And you might think, well, they write software. Okay, so we'll count number of lines of code. That could be their statistic. How many lines of software do they write a day or a week or an hour? Yeah. Well, that's not a great statistic, because the way you'd get that statistic up is hit return more often, right?
Yeah.
And you could double your stat. Like, that would be useless. Then you go, well, okay, maybe it's number of software bugs fixed. Well, that would be useless, because the way you get that statistic up is you make software that's got more bugs, so then you can fix them, right? So you gotta think with, well, what's the actual production? And after a while, I worked out that the production that we had was number of features delivered. And what that means is a feature is a request from a customer for the software to do something that they want, right? So that's one feature. It doesn't matter how big or small it is, it's one feature. And then the software developer takes that feature from the customer, goes and implements it, deploys it, gets it up and running, And they can only count it as one when the customer says, yes, that's doing what I want, right? And that closes the loop on software development. But it also does a really interesting thing. When you pick the right statistic, you know it's the right stat because it encourages more production. One of the problems with software developers, and I know I can say this, I am a software developer. I've written software. I've written software that's been downloaded, I think, just under 400 million times now. I mean, so I know software developers don't like talking to humans generally because they don't do what you want them to do. They do what they want to do, and computers do what you tell them to do. So, but what this statistic does is for a software developer to get the statistic up, they could either work longer hours, right? If they're say they're working at 100% peak productivity, right?
Yeah.
The only way they can get it up any further is either work more hours or you make the feature smaller. So say the client comes to you and says, I want a dashboard that shows all the graphs of everything on this site, right? The software developer will go and break that down into, okay, so you want a heading on the dashboard, you want this on the dashboard, you want that on the dashboard, and break it down into all these smaller features.
Right.
What that does is that then gets the software developer talking to the client more often. And it gets the client saying, yes, you did it. Yes, you did it. Yes, you did it more often, which makes the client happier because they see more progress, which makes the stat go up, which makes everyone happier, right? So you really need that one key statistic at least per person in your entire company. Like a receptionist, it's not number of calls fielded. It would be number of calls correctly connected to the person who was trying to receive that call.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? Like you got to think with this.
Totally. That's awesome. Good. Well,
I've been ranting.
No,
I'm very
you're good. No, we just have so many other Metapulse features we could be highlighting, but there's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll do objectives or knowledge or whatever in the future, and the org chart and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my part of it is, like I said, it's setting that vision, and then keeping the staff and the team knowing where we're at. You know, it'd be kind of like, and here, what's funny to me is like business owners are always like not willing to communicate with the staff on what's really going on and what's happening, and everything's hush hush, and it's like there's one person in the office that's connected that feeds everything to everybody else, and
well, you just get hidden deadlines there.
But it's kind of like imagine a team, a football team or a basketball team or a rugby team or whatever, right? And they're there and you're running plays and you're throwing the ball to them. And you're like, okay, good job, guys. Let's go over here. Let's run this play. But they don't know where they're at on the field.
They don't know what the score is.
They don't know what the score is. They don't know how much time is on the clock. They don't know any of these things. And I make the jokes all the time about business owners, how we know all of our favorite team statistics, and we know if we run the ball on second down, then we're 95% likely to get a first down. Yeah, I know.
No idea. Football's that pretend game in the US where they wear all this armor, right?
Yes, that one. But it's like we know so much about our teams, and then we yell at the TV when the coach does something stupid.
Yeah, right. Totally. I did that last week with my Formula One race.
Oh,
I'm like, why didn't you pit him? Come on.
I'm a Verstappen fan, so big Danny Rick lover.
That's right.
But it's like the business owners sit there and yell at the TV when the coaches do something stupid, and they see the graphs and the statistics and the numbers, and then you ask them about their own business and go, well, how often are your employees likely to do this in this situation? And they don't know. You have to keep your team in the know of what it is that's going on so that decisions can be made. And if you withhold everything and keep everything hush hush, nobody knows what's going on, and you can't expect them to perform and make the right decision when you as the manager never gave them the score, how much time was left on the clock, how many laps were left in the race, why we should pit now and not 5 laps from now, whatever it is. As business owners, we'd be the worst coaches and general managers because we'd hire all these players and tell them, okay, guys, you're supposed to go win a championship, but we're not keeping score, or only I know the score. Something along that line. It's really funny how blind we can get sometimes about that.
Totally. And I think the other thing that to your viewers watching, it's it's not hard to set up something like just as a point, we've priced Metapulse to be insanely affordable. So we don't actually charge by the number of users you've got. So what we want you to do when you fire up Metapulse is put everyone in your company on the org chart, even the cleaner, or like my lawyer is on my org chart and he doesn't even work for me, but he's on there, right? Because it doesn't cost me anything to put him there. But then the whole company knows who the lawyer is. So if I'm out of touch one day, maybe I'm traveling and I can't be available and some legal threat comes in that needs instant response, my team know how to get hold of the lawyer,
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So you put all your staff in there, and then the next step is going through and just giving each staff member, working out, well, what is it you produce? What is it you do? And sometimes it's really obvious. A salesperson, they produce sales. So you want number of sales or dollar value of sales, or the bricklayer, number of bricks laid per day, or whatever it is, right? Or jobs completed, or jobs signed off as done by the client, or the business development manager might have number of ads running, but the more important statistic is number of reaches received from the ads, right? Because that's actually the production. The production of producing the ad is less important than did it produce a result, right? So as long as you're focused on the result of the production, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And when you do this in any company, 1 in 10 people, roughly, that's my experience, is going to complain about putting the statistics in, and 2 or 3 out of 100 are going to absolutely blow up, right? Let them keep going, and they may or may not leave, or they'll turn around. But either way, that's good. And you might know, oh, but I can't lose this person. I said, mate, if they're complaining about showing you what they're actually producing, maybe they're not producing what they say they're producing. And maybe they've created a situation with you where you think that they are critical to the company when maybe they're not,
I see that a lot.
And I tell you, when we first put in, I mean, it's not really fair because I put them in day one, right? So every person who's joined my company uses statistics. But occasionally I'll get a team member that joins and we'll show them the stats and it doesn't work out and they leave. And that's fine.
Totally fine.
So
totally fine. And like you said, if somebody doesn't want to track what it is that they do, then what is it that they're doing?
Yeah.
That's
I think the other common problem though is that people go, well, yeah, but I do so many things. I'm spread all over the org chart here. Mm-hmm. I'm the receptionist and I'm the salesperson, and I also build walls, on Tuesdays because we don't have enough. So you've got this person who's running like 6 or 7 jobs. Well, that's really interesting because the process of putting in the stats shows that that's actually happening, right? And
now you know that you have a problem.
Now you know you have a problem.
You go, oh my gosh, I need to hire 5 people to replace this person because she does 6 things for me.
Right. Or the flip side is, well, hang on, why are you doing those 6 things? Isn't that one actually her job? Well, yeah, but she never does it right, so I always do it. Okay. Now we've got a different problem.
Yeah.
Let's go get Frank up to speed on doing that job because he's never had any training on it. And suddenly you're now relieving, because what you'll find is that your top producers, the ones that you really want in the company, will do anything to keep traffic off your lines. Like I had this in my company. I've got, how do I say this politically? I have a team member who's very, very productive, but always goes off and just helps everyone else in the company and is just trying to keep everything under control and feels that it's their duty to keep traffic off of my lines. Like that's what they think their job is. But they've got a very critical job in the company and they're off doing all these other things as opposed to doing their job. But I don't know about it because they're hiding it.
Yeah.
Because they want to make sure that I'm not getting annoyed.
Like, I don't want to bother Michael with this stuff.
Right. Like they're doing it from totally a good place.
Yeah.
And I started putting in stats and they weren't really going, what do you do all day? I do blah, blah, blah. I'd sort of not mention this other stuff, right? And then I just kept pulling the string and just kept investigating and talking to other people. And I'd hear, oh yeah, this person helped me with blah, blah. I'm like, why was that person helping you with that? Like, what do you mean? Oh, well, he always helps with that. What are you talking about, right? So you can pull the string.
Yeah.
And then I found out that we need to hire someone to run that function in the company because he was playing with it and he liked doing it. But anyway, it's when you start putting this statistics in and you start measuring production, you're bringing order into an organization that previously there was chaos. So what's going to happen when you bring in order is these little points of confusion within the organization are going to just start popping up and going, here I am. Oh my God, look at me. Like this crazy situation that no one had any idea was going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The boss didn't.
Yeah, the boss did it, but the other person.
Everyone else knew.
Yeah, everybody else knew.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. And that's the point of keeping a team together is getting them aligned with what the targets are, what the goals are, how to measure it, and keeping everybody focused on what it is that we're here to do. We're not just here to show up at 9 o'clock and then leave at 5 o'clock with a 30-minute lunch. We're here to actually do something. And when that happens, the staff don't even care what time it is. They just want to finish. They want to get to that goal. They want to win. And it means something to them.
It's funny. One of the most common things that we have to do in our company is actually send our staff home.
Yes.
Like
that's when you know that you're doing it right.
It's 11 o'clock at night. What are you doing online? And like, oh, I just got to finish this thing. I really want to like go to bed. Like, you know, it's ridiculous. We have this all the time. Although, I mean, we are a remote company, so we're very, very flexible with our hours. But, you know, at the same time, we actually have a policy for our managers that says part of your duty as a manager is to ensure that your team are getting sufficient rest because, you know, and relaxation time, that they're not overworking themselves because they do. And it's ridiculous. So
they love doing what they're doing.
Yeah, they enjoy their work. They find value in it. They find that they're being valued and their opinions matter. And it also empowers the team, right? Because if a team member has a crashing statistic or they see an area that's crashing and they've got an idea of why, they're not afraid to talk about it because it's obvious that it is because you've got the metric showing that it's crashing.
Yep, absolutely. Make them important and they don't want to stop working.
No, they want to back you up.
Yep, it's not a job at that point. Awesome, man. Well, we're coming up on the end of an hour here, so we might as well. I think we reached a good spot here at this point. Yeah, I want to again thank you for giving us your time on Saturday morning in Australia.
No problem.
Here on Friday night in Florida, and we will schedule another one of these to do. If anybody has questions for Mikel, leave them in the comments, and we will be able to address them at future videos, et cetera, and next time Mikel comes to the States, which who knows when that'll be, we're going to do some live videos here together, film some stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. 4 months. So later this year, we're going to have some more content with Mikel in person here in Florida. Otherwise, we'll do them live here. So we'd love to hear your feedback. Mikel, again, thank you very much. For everybody watching, go check out metapulse.com. And you can get a 2-week free trial on the management software that they have. This is what we use with our clients. We've known the guys at Metapulse for some time, and we've been working with them for a while. And
we can't get rid of you.
Yep, you can't get rid of me. That's for sure. I'll just come up with I'll just make a new account with a different name.
A different name.
Wow, who's this John Doe guy? He's got 10 new accounts. But yeah, we use it all the time. That's what is how we keep everything together. And hopefully you learned something new here tonight about motivating the team, going over numbers, setting goals, setting targets. If you want us to talk about something else in the future, leave some comments down below. And next time Mikel comes on, we'll address some of those other ones there and make sure that we're getting your questions answered. So Mikel, again, thank you very much. I am going to end the live. You can stick around for another minute and I'll talk to you right off camera. But to everybody else out there, we'll see you next time. We've got another live coming up next Friday, by the way. Abby's going to be doing a finance live on bookkeeping. So be sure you stay up to date on all of that. And we'll keep you posted on the live schedule. We will see you all next time.
1 hour and 3 seconds.